to manage to stay in the Premier League. And there's a big incentive for Spurs players to leave as well, because they get to leave basically on a free and go overseas. So let me know if you think Spurs are going to get relegated. We don't even need to talk about Spurs. We can talk about whatever you like. The Blaugrana hierarchy is said to be keeping tabs on at least 5 of the Tottenham first team squads against the president. You've got all this crazy stuff. I'd love to know what you think. What's really on your mind when you turn on YouTube? What do you get? Do you get a lot of stuff for sport like me? Do you get news about the shooting in America? Do you get about the energy crisis in Australia? Do you get about all the crazy things that are happening? What do you get when you turn on the news? Actually, that's what I'd love to know. So let me know in the comments. I'd love to know what you're really getting, because my stuff primarily, when I wake up, I turn on my phone, always on, but I look at my phone. I'll probably get 3 things. I'll get no, I don't want to get married, Privleo, but thank you anyway. But the 3 things that I really get is I'll get sports, so I'll get the Premier League, or I'll get the Socceroos, or I'll get stuff in America. I'll get this big war in Iran, or the crisis going on in the Levant. I get all that sort of stuff. I don't really get really weird or off-face sort of things. So what do you get when you turn on the YouTube or the news? What do you see? A potential return for Simmons. Barcelona keeping a very close eye on the creative duo of Simmons and Lucas Bergvall. Simmons came through the academy ranks at Barca and is considered the crown jewel of the Tottenham midfield. A return to Barca would be a full circle moment for the Netherlands international, who would add more flair and versatility to the club's creative department. The interest in Bergvall is equally intriguing. Equally intriguing, as the young Swede was reportedly on the verge of joining the Catalans before ultimately choosing Tottenham. Who would choose Tottenham over Barcelona? Whose agent is sitting there saying to him, look, you can go to Barcelona and you can come second or first every year for the next 10 years, or you can go to Tottenham and you can get abused from pillar to post. You can score 2 goals and lose 3-2 in the final 90th minute. Who joins that? Who honest? I just don't understand. I mean, this might come back to haunt me, but I don't think I would ever let my kids play for Tottenham if they got the opportunity. If I had to choose between Tottenham and Ajax, I'm choosing Ajax. Let me know what you think. If you had kids, or maybe you already do have kids, and they got a big contract to play for a big club. It doesn't even need to be in the Premier League. It could be the NFL. But is there a club that you would turn around and say, under no circumstance am I ever going to let my child or myself play for the Dallas Cowboys for cricket? Put the comment in the sport you hate the most. That's what I'd love to know. What sport do you hate the most? Because I don't think I'd ever play AFL. There's just something about it that just doesn't interest me. It's kind of like, I always saw AFL as like the rich person sport. It was like the rich kid sport. Maybe I'm wrong. The Blaugrana remained convinced of his high ceiling and could finally secure the player they missed out on just 2 years. Reinforcing the backline with Van de Ven and Romero, the scouting department of Camp Nou is also focused on bolstering Hansi Flick's defensive options, identifying Mickey Van de Ven and Christian Romero as primary targets. Both players have established themselves as high-level performers in England and would immediately provide elite competition for places in the Barcelona back line. Van de Ven is viewed as a particularly attractive prospect due to his explosive recovery speed and his comfort when playing out from the back. As a left-footed centre-back, the Dutchman is seen as the ideal long-term partner for academy sensation Pau Kubasi, the guy who got the red card recently. If you know, you know. Potentially giving Barcelona one of the most balanced defensive pairings in European football. Thanks for the share, Mr. Nobody. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much. I'll go and give you a good. You're already a long-time follower. Thank you. That's awesome. The 5th name on Barcelona's list is Spanish international Pedro Porro. The right-back's attacking profile fits the traditional Barcelona mold perfectly, though his arrival would likely be contingent on the future of Jules Koundé. Reports suggest that Barcelona are open to offers for Koundé this summer as they look to balance their books. Should the Frenchman depart, Jules Koundé Jules Koundé, his fashion sense is very interesting. If you ever want to know what happens when you let the money go to your head, Google Jules Koundé fashion choice, and somebody's playing a trick on him because they put him in things that a man shouldn't be wearing. Reports suggest that Barcelona opened an office with Koundé this summer as they look to balance their book. Should the Frenchman depart, Porra is seen as the ideal candidate to step in and provide the offensive threat from deep that Flick desires. I mean, Pedro Porra is a really good right back. Right back is right back. He's just excellent. Shouldn't be a centre half. He's very good at this moment in time. Really good. Let me know what team you support. I mean, I'm always talking about football. We don't need to talk about football. We can get straight into the politics if you like. But I really like talking about football. I like talking about Spurs. Congratulations to Newcastle Jets, by the way. They have basically they are at the top of the A League. I made a video about that shortly, about how they're doing so well. And they are doing really well. Just doing incredibly well. They thrashed the Mariners recently to lift the Premier's plate. So you have to give credit to Milligan. You have to give credit to the Newcastle Jets ownership for doing really well. And if you like this live as well, share it, follow it, like it. It really does help the stream. Match reports: Jets thrash Mariners to lift Premier's plate. The Newcastle Jets have thumped rivals, the Central Coast Mariners, 4-0 in front of over 20,930 fans at McDonald's Jones Stadium on Saturday night. The match sparked into life after 20 minutes when striker Ben Gibson played a delightful through ball for Will Dobson to smash past Mariners goalkeeper Andrew Redmayne, formerly a Wanderers player, and make it 1-0. He's also a Sydney FC player. After just 5 minutes later, the Jets had a second one when Clayton Taylor squeezed his shot through Andrew Redmayne to make it 2-0. I'd also love to know what you guys are. I'm in Sydney. Are you guys also in Australia? Are you overseas? If you are overseas, if you're in China, you're in India, you're in Indonesia, I'd love to hear about it. Clayton Taylor was again involved as the Jets made it 3-0 when he showed great strength to get past Mariners defender James Donashi and cross for Eli Adams to head home after Redmayne could only parry it away. The Jets continued to put the foot down in the second half with young attacker Javi Bertoncello hitting the crossbar in the 70th. Oh, Mr. Nobody, you're in China. Oh, cool. Whereabouts is that? Like in the north side of it or the east? Whereabouts in China are you? The Jets delivered the final blow in the 85th minute. Already read that. The Jets' big win for the Mariners see them finish the regular season on 48 points, which has resulted in their first ever Shanghai, like Tier 1 Shanghai. I would love more than anything else in the world to go check out China because I've seen like nothing but awesome stuff about it. Like I think I saw a city that was like it was the city based on it's like a future city basically. It's kind of built into the mountain, and it just looked like light years ahead. Like it was in 2200. I just think that's so cool in comparison to Sydney, where we have infrastructure that's basically third world. I mean, our trains, the people that work there are great, but the infrastructure is just so old. So when you look at like Shanghai, or you look at that whole metro area. I know Shanghai. I think it's Shanghai, Beijing, and there's another one. It's like a triangle. That whole area is just 22 in the year 2200. Absolutely amazing. So cool. That's cool. Thanks for checking in on the stream. So the Newcastle Jets are doing really well. There's just no doubt about that. They've done really well. And the way they've done it is that they've had very good ownership. They've invested in the youth. And that's a ballsy decision for a lot of for a manager to make in the A-League, because you put your trust in experienced players who aren't going to rock the boat. And as the saying goes, the fish rots from the head. And if you have a risk-averse ownership team, then you're going to have a coach who's risk-averse. You're going to have a team that's risk-averse. But if you have a team that's going to go helter-skelter, like Newcastle Jets, that have the guts to play attacking football, to use the youth and say, stake your claim, not only does it create jeopardy for the fans who think, oh, wow, you put a 19-year-old in the team, which is exciting to fans. They want the guy to succeed, and maybe on a level they want the guy to fail. It creates that excitement, but it also means that there's a point to prove, and that's really where the excitement is. And the Jets have benefited from that. So chapeau to them. Chapeau to them. They've just done incredibly well. They've just done really incredibly well. So that's good to see. I actually Well, I was watching the Wanderers versus Melbourne Victory, where Melbourne Victory just put Wanderers to the sword. That was unbelievable. And they did the Welcome to Country, which I'd love to know your thoughts on. I'm not going to get too political, but what do you guys think? If you know what the Welcome to Country is, put it in the comments. I think it's everywhere now. So I'd love to know what you think. Maybe I should just not say anything about it, but Wanderers versus Melbourne Victory. They've been given the one spoon. 2-0 to Wanderers, 2-0 to Melbourne Victory. Clarice Mario Santos on the 71st minute, and Nikios Virgos. I mean, the Wanderers are just such a big club, and yet they got the wooden spoon. Not just them, not just the male team, but the female team as well. The women's team got the wooden spoon. So back to back, wooden spoon. Club is the size of them. Whilst Newcastle Jets, all the respect to Newcastle Jets, but they aren't established and heavily involved in an area where there's a big density and a big desire for football as of yet. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's the opposite, but I've always seen the Newcastle Jets in the past as a demographically smaller team, kind of like just because they are far out. I think that'll change. Newcastle was for a time the fastest growing area in the whole of the Sydney area. That's going from Nowra all the way up to literally Newcastle. But I think that'll change as time goes on. The Central Coast is a really good place to live. The Newcastle's a really good place to live. Sydney is just getting so unaffordable. So that's always really, really interesting. Now, going on to the energy crisis that seems to be fixing us, I'm going to go straight to Al Jazeera. To halve fuel tax as global energy crisis deepens, which I think they've already done. That was a month ago, pardon me. Huge move to fix Aussie fuel crisis. As oil prices rise again after stalled peace talks, the Liberals are demanding Anthony Albanese act on fuel security. Angus Taylor has pledged the coalition will double the nation's fuel reserves if elected, as the Albanese government prepares to big storage moves in the May budget. News.com.au understands that the Treasurer, Jim Chalmers, is set to announce a range of measures to improve Australia's resilience to fuel shocks. The coalition will announce its plan to strengthen Australia's fuel scarcity on Tuesday. It's a reactionary move. I'd love to know what you think about Australia when it comes to the fuel stuff, but this is post-1969 reactionary politics, and you can see it not just in energy, you can see it in housing, you can see it in government policy, everything about the political elites, which is across the aisle, Labour and Liberals. It's just reactionary. The problems happened, and then we're and I'll make a prediction. The next thing that they're going to have to react to is the infrastructure crisis. Star Music, can I join? Can you join? I actually don't know how to do it, to be honest with you. Hold on a second here. Accept request. All right, I'm gonna. Maybe this is a bad idea. Let's see how we go. Hey, can you hear me? Yeah. Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you. So, what do you think? I said, what do you think? Ooh, what is that? Well, that was crazy. Well, that was crazy. That was crazy. I have no idea. That was crazy. Nope. That's a no. All right, we'll keep going. Mr. Taylor also floated a plan to establish an 800 million Australian fuel security facility to deliver at least 1 billion litres of new onshore storage. The coalition is calling on the government to lift baseline stockholding levels from the 1st of January 2027 in order to increase minimum levels for critical fuel in aggregate by nearly 25%. This is a plan the Prime Minister should pick up today. No excuses, no delays, Taylor said. If fuel stops, Australia stops. Oh, let me take a look here. It's that simple. Trucks don't move, supermarkets don't stock, businesses shut their doors. We are putting forward a practical plan. Oh my god, I can't even bother reading this guy. But I don't know what you think, but I just think that this is just more reactionary nonsense from the whoever this guy is. I never take politicians seriously, not for a long time, not since 2008. Long story short, we have a really big fuel crisis. Let me know what your thoughts are. Thanks for keeping the line. Don't forget to follow and like the live. It really does help, or share it. Oh, that threw me off, man. Star music. I don't even know what was happening. That really threw me off. Holy mackerel. Anyway, I'll keep on to the news. So Iran war. Actually, I'll get Iran war live. I actually wanted to tell you about DropSite. So DropSite actually spoke about this recently. I've got something really interesting here that I wanted to show you guys. This is 20 hours ago. Here we go. As Trump's narrative on negotiation fails, Iran is setting its own terms for ending the war. Despite Trump's repeated claims that Iran is beginning to capitulate, Tehran believes it has the 3 M's on its side: munitions, markets, and the midterms. This is by Jeremy Scahill. DropSite's journalism, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so Iran Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi has been on a strategic tour to prepare for 2 dramatically different paths that could unfold in the coming days: a return to diplomacy or a resumption of the war in the US and Israel. And I mean, I've said this, I think this war is going to continue. We're in this war for the long run. I don't know if you guys knew this, and comment below if you did, but the US just automatically registered 1 million young men between 18 to 25 for the draft. Now, just want to be clear, that doesn't mean that there's a draft right now, but it does mean that right now they have automatized. They've registered 1 million young men to the draft. So if there were a draft, they can immediately get people on it, which is not a good thing. While President Trump has claimed that the Iranian government is in a state of internal chaos and his administration is waiting for Iran to capitulate, a senior Iranian official told DropSite that Tehran is establishing the conditions on which a new round of direct talk could take place. We're currently moving forward with our own design, and we feel continuing negotiations doesn't make sense until the US government lifts the maritime blockade, said the official, who has direct knowledge of internal diplomatic deliberations in Iran. He requested anonymity because he is not authorized to publicly discuss the negotiations. The scope of the conflict has expanded, and naturally the issue is no longer purely nuclear. Tehran, the Iranian official said, remains firm in its demand that the US naval blockade in the Strait of Hormuz can be lifted as a condition to move forward. If that happens, a formal second round of top-level direct talks can happen. So yeah, that's what I mean when I say this conflict isn't going anywhere soon. It's not a good thing. Think, JD? I'd love to know what you think. Iranians are saying time is working in favor for the 3 M's: munitions, markets, and midterms. The 3 M's help Iran in its position and weaken US positions, Ahmadian said. Obviously, in the US, they want something to say, we squeezed Iran and we got this. My perception is that the Iranians are keen to deny the United States that they wouldn't give what America wants as a victory. While White House officials claim that Iran presented the US with a new proposal for the weekend and pushed this narrative through preferred media outlets, the Iranian officials said the characterization was false. Trump claimed Iran softened its stance over the weekend, but not enough for a deal. Ahmadian said there's been a recent Iran shift, but is towards a clear set of conditions for resuming negotiations, not acceding to American demands on its nuclear programs. So what we're seeing from more impartial sources around the world is that, one, Iran is going to come to a peace agreement if the US allows it to actually have a nuclear program. So they've done a big 180. Before this conflict started, they were willing to acquiesce to US demands. After basically this of bombing schools in a big war, they're now basically saying, hey, no, we want the nuclear program. We're also going to charge a toll to go through the Strait of Hormuz. This war should have never happened. I would have, I'm going to say something a bit controversial, but I would have voted for Trump if I was in America. I think he held a big populist wing, but obviously he's now being influenced by factors, by neocons, Marco Rubio, and other foreign influences that are pushing him. Iran also believes that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has been given unprecedented influence over US intelligence estimates and White House decision making. Our country's had negotiations with the Americans at various levels over the past 30 years, formal and informal, public and back channel, the senior Iranian official said, referencing previous US Iran negotiations that involved months, at times years, of diplomacy and technical talks. It's as if they are showing up to a football match with rugby rules. Well, yeah. Let me know in the comments if you actually are following this whole conflict that's going on in the Middle East with Iran, America, Israel, Lebanon, because it's the Vietnam of our time. I don't think anybody really understands that this is very important. And the fact that we're paying more at the pump, the fact that there's going to be a shock, from an inflationary shock that will affect our interest rates, that are going to affect our prices at the market, the price of mint, our fertilizer. There's apparently now a fertilizer short supply. We very much are in the 70s in where we are, not just in terms of economics, but even in terms of social theory and the sort of we have the woke culture, very similar to hippie culture, very much like the 70s. But in the 70s we had JFK. I don't think we have, actually, pardon me, it wasn't JFK. JFK was the 60s. Last week, the Iranian government announced that Iran will be visiting Islamabad for bilateral talks with Pakistani leaders. This set off a flurry of media speculation that a new round of negotiations would happen. Trump announced that Vance was en route to Islamabad and once again characterized, thank you for liking, Ashley, very much appreciate it. Once again characterized Iran as pleading for new negotiations, but Vance, it turned out, was not on a plane, and Iran continued to deny it had any intention of meeting with US officials in Pakistan. Trump then said he was dispatching Witkoff and Kushner, and the media was flooded with stories about a meeting with Iran. Some news, Islamabad, yeah, when I read Islamabad, Vance was en route to Islamabad and once again characterized Iran as pleading for new negotiations. This is through Drop Site News, Musa. So I'd love to know your thoughts on this. If you think this war is going to finish soon, if it's going to continue ratcheting onwards. Hey, Ashley, how you going? Trump said that he was dispatching Witkoff and Kushner. The media was flooded with stories about a meeting with Iran and the US. Iran's foreign minister spokesman Ismail Baghai said soon after the Araghchi arrived in Pakistan, Iran, he said, discussed a range of issues, including trade. On Sunday, Islamabad announced it was expanding the transportation of third country goods through Pakistan, destined for Iran. Am I saying it wrong? Islamabad? Am I saying it wrong? I'm worried now. Islamabad. Islamabad. I'm saying it right. That's another thing. Just on the topic of Iran and its economy, there was a post I saw on Breaking Points, or a video I saw on Breaking Points, where they said that with the toll that Iran is going to charge on the Strait of Hormuz, they could make up to $90 billion in 12 months. So that's a tremendous amount of money. Keep in mind, the Suez Canal brings in about $4 billion. One second. How much money does the Suez Canal make for Egypt? I was right. $9.4 billion in revenue. That and just so I can back it up, let's find out what is this based on. Wikipedia. Let's dive a bit deeper. Did you get this source from? Let's find out. I have a whole team working with me. I'm not Mehdi Hassan. Suez Canal Authority and Egyptian government officials, as well as international economic reports. Fiscal year, the 7.2 USD revenue figure and the decline from 9.4 were officially reported by SCA Chairman Osama Rabi in July 2024. Okay, how much money will Iran make from the tolls? Let's just double check. I'm using AI. I'm using Gemini, but that's cool. Iran from the tolls of tolling the Strait of Hormuz. Hormuz is the correct term. So they're going to charge 2 million USD per transit. 150 million USD per month was a daily estimate. Some Iranian economists suggest that at full capacity, the country could generate 60 to 80 billion USD annually from these transit tariffs. So tremendous amounts of money, absolutely tremendous. Uh, Iran continued to reject suggestions that any talks would happen. No meeting is planned to take place between Iran and the US, Iran's foreign minister spokesman Ismail Baghai said soon after arriving in Pakistan. After Araghchi left Islamabad on Saturday and flew to Amman, Trump scrambled to spin the narrative and control the damage, claiming he had actually called off the planned negotiation. Too much time wasted on traveling, too much work, Trump wrote on Truth Social. Besides which, there is tremendous infighting and confusion within their leadership. Nobody knows who is in charge, including them. Also, we have all the cards, they have none. If they want to talk, all they have to do is call. Trump then claimed that as a result of his refusal to send his emissaries, Iran had softened its stance, submitting a new proposal to the US. They gave us a paper that should have been better. And interestingly, immediately when I canceled within 10 minutes, we got a new paper that was much better, Trump said. Trump continues to claim that he's extended the initial 2-week ceasefire agreed on April 7th because Iran's leadership was in a state of disarray and infighting. What do you guys think about this stuff going on in the Middle East? Like, put in the comments if you think that this is nothing that bothers you, if it's something that really does concern you. I mean, it concerns me. Let me know how things have been going for petrol price. There was a guy, I think that was in the live a while ago that was talking. I actually missed one. Liam Mondevo. I gotta be better on top of this stuff. But that he said, he's in China. China's actually really doing okay with all this stuff going through. Apparently, there was a report that Iran is still business as usual with China. So it's an interesting time. Armenian said that Iran's perception is that the U.S. leadership that is in deep disarray, as evidenced by Trump's flip-flop, and the U.S. is in disarray right now. Nobody wants this war. There's a midterm. Does anybody know that there's a midterm in the U.S. right now? And Trump doesn't care. Nobody in the U.S. Leadership seems to care that there's a war, there's a midterm going on soon, and that they could lose the House, they could lose everything. Of course, unless it's not about democracy, it's about just who is in control really of the US, and it's a group of people who are the political establishment. Unrealized threats and the recent, hey, Big Al, how you doing? And the recent chaos over which officials would be heading to Islamabad to negotiate with Iran. Actually, Big Al, do you care about what's happening in the Middle East right now, or should I just continue to talk about football? During the first round of direct talks held in Islamabad on April 11th, the Iranian team arrived with a clear message coming out of Tehran, with a team that represents all of the system, and it came with a very strong case for showing the unity within the country, Ahmadian said. He added that the Iranian side left the talks with the impression that there were stark differences between Vance on the one hand and Witkoff and Kushner on the other. The Iranians see Witkoff and Kushner as the representatives of the Israeli interests, not of the United States, as opposed to Mr. Vance, who was representing the U.S. interests in those talks, he said. They were divided in their way of approaching the Iranians. Well, is that news? Is that news for us? Would this war really be continuing the way that it did if it wasn't a sort of bipolar approach to this war? There's people who don't want it to happen, who are America first, and then you have war hawks who see tremendous financial incentives to continue this war and who benefit from foreign policy goals. But let me know your thoughts. I mean, it's something I'm passionate about. I really enjoy talking about football and enjoy talking about politics. I don't take this as a bluff. Abbas Araghchi's three-nation tour, the senior Iranian official told Dropsite, is aimed in part at laying out Tehran's position in clear terms to mediators and key strategic players who could play a role in any future deal. Amman has decades of experience serving as a mediator on nuclear issues between the US and Iran, but Muscat has was blindsided by the surprise attack on Iran a day after its foreign minister visited Washington and was led to believe an agreement was within reach. Given Oman's vast experience and technical knowledge, Iran is eager to see Muscat re-enter the diplomatic process. Now, look, Iran is not the good guy in this as well. Like, I just want to be really clear, because obviously I hate that there's a war going on. I don't want there to be a war, but that doesn't mean that I'm some fan of the IGRC or anything like that. IRGC, Islamic Republican, IRGC or GC? IRGC, the Islamic Revolution Guard Corps. I know that it's a ridiculously despotic regime and all that sort of stuff, but at a time where most people in the Western world can't get a house, they can't get a job, their money is losing its purchasing power, waging a war with a country, with a fortress of a nation like Iran, shouldn't be on the top of a to-do list. I'd love to know what you think. Is all this stuff just nonsense? I'd love to know. Um, yeah, crazy. During his talks with Pakistani officials, Araghchi offered a comprehensive overview of Iran's position on a range of issues, including nuclear enrichment and the standoff on the Strait of Hormuz. The senior Iranian official said it did not constitute a new proposal, but rather a reiteration and extrapolation of the terms laid out by Iran since February. We explained our technical positions to the Pakistani side regarding the nuclear issue. Solutions that we previously proposed were raised again so that we could reach a shared understanding with them, the official said. Our remarks were not directed at the Americans, given that these are bilateral discussions. We believe that the intermediaries themselves should also be technically briefed on the proposals. While some Iranian officials have expressed frustration with Pakistan's role and a perception that it has shown an inability to manage Trump, Ahmadian said Tehran will not publish Islamabad. They don't want these talks to burden their relationship with Pakistan with outcomes. Ahead of a meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin on Monday, Raisi held the US responsible for the stalled progress in negotiations. And so that's another thing that people are talking about right now, is that, yeah, sure, cracking Big Al, what's a real world problem that you're passionate about? But the only point I was going to say is this whole Middle East problem that's happening right now. Not only is it just Iran, Lebanon, Syria, Israel, Turkey, it's now getting Russia and China involved in this process. So it's. Some people are saying it's a world war. I don't think it is, but it's definitely it's getting the whole world involved. But let me know what you think, Al. I'd love to hear your suggestions. Let me just want doing that. During his meeting with Araghchi Monday, Russian President Vladimir Putin praised how courageously and heroic the people of Iran are fighting for independence and sovereignty, and pledged that Moscow would offer its assistance to Iran in efforts to bring the war to an end. Russia, just like Iran, intends to continue our strategic relationship. Russia played a key role in the 2015 nuclear deal and could emerge as an important guarantor of Tehran's interest in any agreement reached with the US following the 2015 agreement. Iran shipped more than 25,000 pounds, roughly 98% of its enriched uranium, to Russia. At the time, Iran was believed to only possess only a small quantity of highly enriched uranium, and nearly all of that stockpile was sent to Moscow, along with less enriched material. After Trump unilaterally canceled the landmark agreement, Iran increased its enrichment activity and is at present believed to have roughly 1,000 pounds of highly enriched uranium. Trump falsely claimed recently that Iran had agreed to allow the US to send troops into Iran to take custody of the uranium, which Trump refers to as nuclear dust. Yeah, I mean, just troops in Iran is just going to absolutely devastate the economy. It's such a scary thing to even joke about or say. It would be horrifying, not even from a military standpoint, but just from an economic standpoint. I think it was like $1 trillion a month or something the U.S. was spending in Iraq, or maybe it was $1 trillion a year or something to that effect. So nobody has the money to do that. Okay. At present, Iran still believes it's likely that the US and Israel will resume the war. I believe that as well. Let me know if you think. Do you think that that Israel and US will continue this war against Iran, or do you think they're going to look for peace? I don't think that's going to happen. I mean, you know what they've been talking about now. Our assessment is that we do not see Trump as capable of shaping the agreement. The Iranian official said. Our take is that they basically decided uh, to keep the war going until there's a regime change, which the official predicted would continue to fail. Tehran has indicated it has prepared new forms of retaliatory strikes and other actions, including in the Strait of Hormuz. On April 22nd, Iran's Tasnim news agency, which is affiliated with the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, published maps of undersea cable infrastructure in the Persian Gulf. Scary. Raising concerns, it was suggesting Iran could cut the cables, causing widespread internet outages and disrupting commerce, which is really how they plan to hurt the allies in the US in this conflict, is that they're going to hurt them economically. Um, Further harming the global economy. Iranian military commanders have said that while the US has moved more military assets into the region during the ceasefire, Tehran has also taken this period to prepare its own weapon systems for more fighting. Iran has made no secret that it would target US military assets, in which I think about 121 US servicemen have already died, as well as any infrastructure in Gulf states who aid Americans' attacks in any way. All of this is unfolding amid an increasingly tense standoff in the Strait of Hormuz, marked by a nearly daily incident, including the seizure, interdiction, and forceful redirection of ships. I think the Iranians will not sit on their hands watching the United States harass and seize the ships. They will rather go for a war, said Ahmadine. If there's no breakthrough in the next week, I think escalation will happen. I expect the United States to increase the pressure on Iran militarily, but the Iranians will go heavier this time, he added. Iran is saying that its infrastructure is targeted. We will target 4 times what's hitting Iran. I don't take that as a bluff. I think they will do that because the more pain on the other side, the less likelihood of it continuing to target Iran's infrastructure. So scary times, really scary times. I'd love to know what you think.